Welcome to Jobbed Out, the wrestling editorial that reminds you that if a pregnancy storyline doesn't actually end in a baby, it was always going to be awful. So this video isn't an editorial as much as it's a throwback. See, back in 2016, I was fortunate enough to have the chance to sit down and do an hour-long interview with former WCW and WWE performer Terri Runnels. Yeah, that's right, Alexandra York herself. I think she also did some stuff under the name Marlena? I don't know, who remembers? Anyway, this interview actually very nearly landed me a Wrestling Radio Award as I was a finalist for Female Interview of the Year. Within it, we discuss everything from her entering the business to moving into the WWF, her memories of Brian Pillman and Chyna, her experiences working under Vince Russo, and much, much more. We even catch up with Dakota, who debuted in the WWF when she was 3. So, check it out. Maybe throw a like and a sub, and I'll do my best to bring you some new and exciting goodies about the wrestling business. For now, though, hope you enjoy. Well, I do want to thank you for taking the time to spend with me here on Jobbed Out. Just basically, I'm going to be doing a lot of cutting because, I'll be honest, I'm a little starstruck. I grew up watching you many years ago as a child, and I gotta tell you, I'm amazed that you haven't aged a bit since about 97.
But wait, you surely you have glasses that you don't have on, or you have something is wrong with what you're looking at.
I had eye surgery. These things are surgically fixed. They're better than they've ever been.
Stop it. Well, thank you, and I will hope that you can look past my Betty Boo font, because as I told you when we first started talking before the cameras were rolling, that I usually like my hair like a couple of hours after I do it so it falls, and yeah, so we're doing Alabama Beauty Queen hair tonight, so forgive me, viewers and listeners. Listeners, can you see that?
Well, I do want to ask how you're doing in 2016. What have you been up to? I know you recently just toured a couple shows. Strong Style Wrestling.
Yes, I was there for an MDA, Muscular Dystrophy Association show, and that was one of those where I thought, okay, God, you don't want me to go and do this show, because I kept travel issue after travel issue after travel issue. So we literally, I think I arrived even after the intermission, and we had to do this special deal. Anyway, I promised everyone, I'm like, I'll stay here until midnight to sign. I don't care. I'm yours. We made it work. I also didn't think I was going to make it home, but, I did. So here we are. No, and nobody lost a limb or a life, so all is well.
Beautiful, and I know that you sent some fans home happy, because you have a presence and an energy just to being around and being you.
I hope I sent a few home with a smile, and yeah, I left with a smile because there were a couple of MDA kids that were there. One in particular, his name was Lucas, and I need to post the picture that he and I took together. I get very lax about posting stuff, but he really made me smile, and so yeah, they do for me, my fans and people like Lucas do for me what I hope I can do for you guys.
Well, for any completely lost person watching, Terri Runnels, the former Marlena, huge presence for women and divas in the Attitude Era, but your presence in wrestling actually started behind enemy lines. You were a WCW talent.
I was.
So how did you make the shift from working for CNN to working for Jim Crockett?
Well, CNN and Crockett were kind of simultaneous. So what happened was, when I became a makeup artist for CNN, I was the low man on the totem pole. So the low man on the totem pole had to do weekends. So and that was when Jim Crockett flew his guys in Saturdays and Sundays to tape their TVs. So low man on the totem pole got to do wrestling, which nobody wanted to do. It was kind of like, I don't want to do wrestling. You do wrestling. So yeah, that was my deal, to do the weekends, and I did that for a while until I was asked to be this on-air character named Alexandra York. And I said, what are we talking about? Tell me what we're talking about. And so for a while, I did both jobs, which landed me in the emergency room, blind in one eye. And after tests and MRIs, they said, you're exhausted. Go home and go to sleep. So, yeah.
Wow. That was actually something I didn't expect. Who do we put the blame letters to? Who pitched the idea that you had to do double duty like that?
No, I mean, that was my choice. I was a very hardworking. I knew that I wanted things in life, and I just busted my ass and did what I had to do, and in a good way, not by stepping on anyone else or, undercutting anyone else. I busted my ass and I decided that I could get where I wanted to go financially and professionally quicker if I did two things at once. So I just, there were literally days where, like, my duty at CNN, I had to be at work, be there, not get up, but be there at 4 a.m. And then my shift was over at noon. So then I would go wherever we were doing TVs, drive, fly, wherever that was. And then I had to be back, sometimes I would literally get home long enough to shower and be back at CNN. It was crazy, crazy, crazy. Yeah, I tell you. And the night that I went to the ER, I don't remember who said it. I believe Dusty was at gorilla position, which of course they didn't call it gorilla position in WCW, but I don't know who said it, but I heard someone say, watch her. I don't think she's going to make it. And like, I went to the ring that night and I literally just held on to the ring post, and I was not very much in character at all. And I don't, like, it was just horrible. And as I was walking back, like, I couldn't see out of one of my eyes, and I went to the hospital, and yeah, here's a funny little tidbit. I don't know that I've ever said this. When they were trying to do the MRI on me, and I don't know if you've ever had to do an MRI before, but you have to lie just perfectly still. I kept falling asleep in the MRI and snoring and vibrating my body. And they kept interrupting the MRI and coming in saying, sweetie, if you can, just try to stay awake and because you're snoring and you're vibrating, and that's causing a problem. And like, I think they probably came and told me that 2 or 3 times. And like, I mean, go figure. Yeah, they could not find anything wrong with me, why I had gone blind, other than exhaustion. So.
Oh, goodness. But did that sour WCW for you? Because you stuck around with wrestling for considerably longer.
Not at all. No, it didn't. No. I wanted to do what I wanted to do. And so, yeah, no.
I did get a fan-requested question for you. Did you ever keep the laptop?
Yes, I have the laptop that I cracked over Brian Pillman's head. Yes. And I probably won't ever get rid of that one. There are some things that, like, I've let Dakota go through and kind of pick and choose, like, the outfits and the things that she wants to keep for herself and for her children and whatever. A lot of the dresses that I had my dressmaker make for Marlena, I had like little mini-me identicals made for Dakota. And so, of course, I'll never get rid of any of the dresses that I have little mini-me's made, that Dakota wore. So we'll always keep those like mother-daughter dresses. But yeah, so anything I do share with collectors and that sort of thing, it's stuff that she said, it's okay, I don't want that one, you can share that with others.
Before the Monday Night Wars were a thing, you did make that leap from WCW to the WWF. Who made the call? How'd that go about?
That was another interesting thing that I saw on, we talked a little bit through my personal assistant about what you wanted to cover and everything. I was surprised that you didn't know this. Maybe you did, and maybe you're doing this for the benefit of your fans. But at this point in my career, I have left CNN, I've left wrestling. I'm now the mother of the most amazing daughter, and she's about 1.5 years old. And maybe a little bit older than that, almost 2. So when Dustin and we had our gym and everything set up in the basement of our home, and my tanning bed, and Dustin was actually gone. He was on the road. It's just Dakota and I at home. At the time, I did not have a live-in nanny, so it's just the two of us. And I had just been at my sister's home the weekend before, and she had this Barbie doll. There was a famous fashion designer named Bob Mackie, and he designed this Barbie doll called Sun Goddess. So I'm laying in the tanning bed, and my wheels are turning, and I'm seeing this image of this Barbie doll, and I'm thinking, what is it that WWF at the time, what is it that they're lacking? What don't they have in terms of females? And then I started thinking about, wait a second. Okay, so Dustin has this androgynous character, and this is what he's supposed to be. Old Hollywood. He quotes all these old films. He quotes all this. He's this actor from Hollywood, whatever. And so I just start thinking about the image of old Hollywood, of the old glamour, how they didn't put on sweats. I mean, they made sure the way they went out, they went to show themselves off and to be glamorous. Back then, you didn't open your door in in sweats, and, you open your door dressed elegantly and coiffed appropriately. So my wheels are turning. I'm coming up with all these things. And so literally I called Dustin and I'm like, Dust, like, what do you think about this? And I explained my whole idea, and he's like, yeah, that's great. I said, okay, call Vince and tell him. And Dustin said, at the time, Dustin was not real comfortable saying a whole lot to Vince. And so he's like, I'm not telling Vince, you tell Vince. And I said, you work for him, I don't. But he said, nope, if you want to do that, you got to call him. Little sucker. I can't believe he made me. So I did. I called, and I got a return phone call from Pat Patterson. And Pat Patterson was very kind and sweet and nice, and said, oh, thank you so much for your idea, and we appreciate that. It was almost like the obligatory thanks but no thanks, And he said, we're, thank you, but we're not interested in doing that at this time. And I'm thinking to myself, dude, you have not even passed on what I've just told you to even be able to make a decision on whether you want to do it or not. But anyway, so I was happier than like a clam to be a mom. I mean, I had no problems. Like, I didn't want to not be a mom. It was just that I had this idea come to mind. So anyway, when they told me, or when Pat Patterson said they're not interested, I was fine. I'm like, I love being a mom. I love staying at home with my child. It's all good. I didn't think another thing of it. And it was a few months later, Dustin called me. I was at my grandparents' home with Dakota and my family, and he's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm hanging with the fam. And he said, pack your bags. They want to do your idea. So literally, I'm proud to say every single thing about Marlena I created. It was from my noggin, my brain, and I loved bringing that character to life. All of the nuances, everything that I conceived of, I was able to, kind of showcase in that character.
Do you still have a fondness for cigars?
That's why the cigars were made a part of that character, because I enjoyed cigars. So I decided, why not, take, and I really had, I was a wine connoisseur and I love my cigars. So I was like, either I want to bring a glass of wine to the ring or a cigar. And it was certainly, safer and easier to bring the cigar. And at first, Vince would not let me light the cigar. So I had to go to the ring with an unlit cigar. And ironically enough, it was Pat Patterson that helped me talk Vince into lighting the cigar. Like, it looks stupid, Vince, for me to not be, dragging on the cigar. What, that's stupid.
Yeah, it's like carrying a skateboard and not knowing how to skate.
Yeah, or just holding it under your arm. Yeah, exactly. Hey, I think that was what two of my friends used to do, right? Remember that gift?
I had to do a little bit of a throw to that, yeah. I'm trying to get one of them on the show.
Yeah, we'll get them. We'll get them. So anyway, exactly. It was like me being one of them and just putting it under my arm. But yeah, he finally, with Pat Patterson's nudging, he let me light the cigar, and the rest is history.
Very nice. Now, you recently revealed while on Jim Ross's podcast that there was the idea, and it ties into a question I received on my editorial series a long time ago, the prosthetic penis.
Okay, I'm going to say this, and this really pisses me off. It pisses me off when an interview is done and people that consider themselves wrestling journalists don't do their due diligence and their homework. I never said anything about a prosthetic penis. It was Jim Ross that said, and he never named who, he said somebody in some production meeting said, hey, should we do a prosthetic penis on her? Well, I'm here to tell you, had anyone ever mentioned that to me, the answer would have been no. If I had to say hello and goodbye within 1 month of being there, I just wouldn't have done it.
Oh yeah, that would have followed you for your whole life, right?
Yeah, I just done it. So long story short, that was not me that brought that up. There are a couple of things that need to be cleared up. That was one of them. That never came from me.
That's okay. That's exactly why I wanted to come to you about it, because then you can set that record straight for them, right?
Well, going forward, I better not ever hear that again. Dadgummit. Dang it.
If they do, there are some people they'll have to answer to.
Yeah, or they just won't get to answer because I won't have time for them. Come on now.
Fair enough. You worked a lot alongside Goldust, and there were some great stories that they tried to pull off in a very edgy time where the androgynous thing wasn't accepted. I remember on Monday Night Raw, Jerry Lawler at one point tells Goldust off in a segment that actually used language you can't say on TV right now. So what was that feedback like back then, working with that possible stigma or backlash from fans?
Well, you have to remember that our whole objective at the time, kayfabe was still in play. So our whole objective was to have fans hate our guts. So the feedback was the most glorious feedback that we could ever hope for.
Fair enough. I loved you guys, but I'm Canadian, so Bizarro World, and that thing was well in play even back then. One of the standout stories at that time was a feud between Goldust and Brian Pillman. And you had lots of memories. You'd worked with Pillman in the past. You had a relationship with him in WCW time. What memories do you have of Brian today?
It's such a they're bittersweet. I mean, it's like it's so sad that such an intense and powerful human being's life was extinguished long before it should have been. Saddest part of that too is that he left, his daughter without a blood mother or father, and like that. As a mother, that rips my heart apart to know that she has neither of her parents, blood mother and father. But Brian, I loved him so much as a friend, and then as someone I dated. And then shortly after we started dating, he found out that he was going to be a dad. And I remember, we were not far enough into our relationship for it to be a devastating blow to me. And, I just said to him, Brian, it's okay. I will still be your friend, and I'm right here for you. And, it's just, we're not going to date. So you need to focus on that. And that's all there is to it. The sad thing too, is after that, he in fact, he eventually said to me, I thought you were going to wait for me. Like, he got really mad if he thought I was dating someone else, and he would go off and he would leave me ridiculous back in the day of having the little mini cassette in your voice recorder, when people left voicemail, he would leave me the craziest messages, like at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, and we all know I had to be up very early, so that did not work well for me. But yeah, it was sad. I mean, I loved the storyline that we were going to go with, and that was going to be one of those killer awesome storylines, and it ended up we had to change that around. But yeah, I'm thoughts today. I'm sad but happy that his daughter's doing well. Happy that I got to spend the time with him that I did, and so.
How much say did you guys have, you and Dustin and Brian, in the story that you guys were putting out? Or was it entirely given to you, or did you have a lot to contribute to it?
No, it was, a lot of it was created by Russo and McMahon. But I mean, we loved that storyline. Like, we thought, okay, the fans can really, sink their teeth into this, because they're alluding to this relationship that Brian and I used to have, and quite frankly, making a bigger deal of the relationship that we used to have, in order to make this storyline more, I guess, fingernail biting and exciting. So yeah, I was fine with it. He was fine with it.
You had a big hand in the WWF debut of Chyna.
Yes.
The first question that I'd actually received was, how roughed up were you? Because she tossed you around.
I will tell you, and I've told this story many times, like, Dustin would come home from the road, and, he would, like, bitch and moan and go, oh my God, I hurt, now this and that, and it's kind of like, until you walked in someone's shoes, you really shouldn't judge or assume anything. And so at the time, I had never taken I'd taken a few bumps, but nothing like this, that literally every part of my body, like, so this, here's what happens. So that night, adrenaline's pumping. I told her, I'm like, make it look real, give it to me, I don't care, just, I want it to look good. Like, I hated really shitty, I just hated to see it when you literally sat there on the couch and went, well, that looked like crap, or he wasn't making even a contact with his face with his spit. I wanted it to look so believable and so real. So I was very clear with her about that. So the next morning after that evening, and granted, that evening I felt nothing. Adrenaline's pumping. I'm stoked. It was a great night. We achieved what we wanted to achieve. Great debut for Chyna. She's menacing and scary and all those things. The next morning, we were in the hotel. Dustin had gone to the bathroom, and he called my name from there to ask me something. And I turned my head, as anyone would, in the direction of where a question's being asked of you. And I literally, I was like, I could not even turn my head to answer him. It was horrible. My whole body, oh my God. So I told him, I said, Dust, I have a newfound respect. When you complain and when you hurt, I am so sorry. And yeah. Welcome to the world of bumps, Terri Runnels.
Did Joni ever buy you dinner or something to make up for that down the road, or?
She gave me exactly what I asked for. Are you kidding me? It was great. Awesome. It was awesome.
Eventually, as they were pulling into the worked shoot eras, some of the, I hate saying this, the IWC like to put it, they did the whole thing where Dustin abandoned his character. You were in a very awkward, painful interview that still makes its rounds online today. And then you were packaged for a short time with Val Venus. How was that transition for you?
Well, that transition basically happened. Here's the way that went. So we have the tragic news of Brian's passing. And that happened literally at the pay-per-view, where I had my dressmaker make a wedding dress with veil and everything, because we were going to renew our vows, because I was coming back to Dustin and Dakota after the 30 days of Brian Pillman having me, right? And so when that horrible tragedy happened, I had been at a third-party appearance with AFA. So one of the people that was at AFA's show was Luna, and I had never met Luna before. And so after meeting her and after talking to her and everything that weekend, I was like, Dustin, oh my gosh, like this would be such a great thing. So I went to Vince in his office in Connecticut. We were there, and I said, like, it would be so awesome to spin it the other way, to have Dustin go and it be Luna, you know. So we twisted the whole story around, and they brought in Luna, and you know how crazy that storyline ended up getting. But it's so funny because that you know, when we did that whole interview where, you know, Dustin all of a sudden, he's like, I've had it, and I'm, you know, and he throws his wedding ring and he leaves, and I'm like crying. And you know, I had relatives saying, oh my God, are y'all breaking up with, you know? And of course, like, I was like, dang, that was Oscar worthy. We did an awesome job.
You really did.
I was kind of proud of it, I must say. Granted, it was not Oscar worthy, but you know, in the world of wrestling, if you look at that, like, you really think that my heart is ripped out of my chest and my husband's leaving me, right?
Well, if it wasn't going to earn an Oscar, it should have at least earned a couple Slammies.
A Slammy, a Razzie, something. Anyway, yeah. So, yeah.
Did you have any reservations when it did go a little too real, like when they tried to include Dakota, for example?
Well, here's something funny about that. No, I didn't have any problem with that at all. But it's very interesting. Like, Dakota had a nanny, and I believe Dakota, it was Mai that flew up with you for that New Jersey beach thing, right? So her nanny from Denmark, it was Vicky? I don't think so, baby. Anyway, one of her nannies flew, they literally, this is on the day of TV. They're like, we need to get Dakota up here. Actually, it was the day before. We need to get Dakota up here. So literally last minute, all this scrambling happens. They fly one of the nannies and Dakota up. They literally shoot us, like, playfully, you know, playing on the beach in New Jersey. I think it might have, like, they might have shown 15 seconds of that footage. But which I kept thinking, like, wow, that was a whole lot of scrambling for 15 seconds. But of course, it added a layer of realness, and it was good. But no, it was like, once we decided to, okay, let's kind of, you know, shed the costumes and shed those things. It was kind of like, if you're gonna be that real, which Dustin was a lot of that, I would say 80 to 90% of what he said was real. I mean, he had been battling that and dealing with that. And so, you know, it was just a layer that I guess needed to happen. And I was very proud to show the world my child, and still am very proud to show the world my child. So, yeah.
Well, so far, she's one of the exceptions to the rule. As it is today, it seems that especially stars that got big in the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, their children find their way. They train, they visit the performance center, they make that step to be the next generation star. But from the sound of it, Dakota's managed to find a different path.
She has never been... Like, her thing almost all of her life has been horses. And like, that was just such a focus for her from the time she was a wee tot. She got her first horse when she was 2 years old, for heaven's sake, a big quarter horse. But, you know, I think that Dakota had a different perspective. You have to understand, everyone else had a mother that stayed at home or a father, like there weren't a mother and father on the road. So Dakota was on the road with me all the time, and she saw a different perspective than all these other kids see. They would come in, a few times a year for WrestleMania or for, this pay-per-view or when it was close to their home. But I guess she kind of saw things differently. And so Dakota is amazing in so many ways. She's wise way beyond her years, and I kid you not, arrived on this planet being that way. What, baby? Oh.
I think I just won you some extra points with your daughter.
But it's just, I think that she loves creating from behind the scenes, producing, directing. And so, if she goes into the business, I expect it to be that way. I will never dictate what her destiny is. That will have to be, she'll have to dictate and decide what that is. I support her no matter what. The only edict I ever handed down to her was, you will get a 4-year degree. I do not care if after that degree you become an artist on the beach and you live in a tent, or if, I don't care what you do, but you will be an artist living in a tent with a 4-year degree. Like whatever you do, you will have that degree. So, yeah. So after that, I don't care what she does. I support her in everything. She's flipping amazing. Like I have to tell you this about her. From the time she was little and she and I were traveling together, because she was my original traveling partner. You must know this. It was a joy for me to be in her presence. Like even when she was a little tiny thing, she was such a wise soul and she was loquacious. Like I would have to tell her to not talk until we got on the airplane because they would want to charge me for her ticket. And I kept saying, she's under 2. No, she's not. And because she just spoke in these long sentences, and children her age should not have been speaking in these long sentences. But she was just a joy to be around, and she still is. And we have our great times. And yeah, that's why I was late for this little appointment tonight with you, mister, because she and I had a little too much fun today.
I do appreciate it.
Absolutely. Hearts right back. Dakota not only is a very accomplished food photographer, she gets paid for her food photography, and many restaurants love her photography is like, and I've always said this from the time she was 11 and started taking these pictures. Most people will take a picture of food and you see a bowl or a plate with the food on it. The way Dakota takes pictures of food, it's like you are one with the food, like you're in the plate. And it's such a refreshing and awesome way that she does it. So she won an award for that exact picture. And yeah, so that's, yeah.
You're putting me over so much tonight.
Yeah, she's the star today. As a nationally certified and endorsed Red Seal chef, I appreciate the work that those photos.
Well, let me tell you this too. The funny thing is, the guy who owned that restaurant, when we gave him that picture, and after it won an award, we made a copy for him and framed it and gave it to him. And the first thing he said is, "Oh my God, that's beautiful, but oh my God, I'm going to kill my chefs because the scallions." There were 3 cuts that weren't made completely through. And that was the first thing as a chef he saw and freaked out over. So yeah, that's funny. Funny that you say that.
Whose baby was the Pretty Mean Sisters stable?
Whose baby?
Yeah, whose
creation?
Yeah, beloved project.
Okay. I am going to do some investigating on not only this, and I can't believe that I don't have an answer for this. I don't know. I think it was Russo or McMahon, but I will get you an answer very soon. I also have to get the answer on the Alexandra York character, because the only thing I came up with that character, I only came up with the name. Everything else somebody else came up with.
Well, the internet believes that it was Shivani.
Shivani's the one. No, maybe they think that because he's the one that told me. Shivani and I went to lunch, and he's the one that laid out, okay, this is what they want from you. Do you want to do this? I don't know that I don't think that it was Shivani's idea. I think he was the messenger. So I have to find out from Shivani whose idea it was. Like, I don't know if, was it Oli's? Whose was it? Oli was the booker at the time. But as far as the other, there are lots of things I need to find out from Russo and from McMahon. So I will do my due diligence, and I'll get the straight answer sooner or later.
Awesome. I appreciate it. I have another fan-submitted one.
Okay.
It was a very edgy, a controversial story that you went through at the time. It's been panned more than it's been praised, but is there a possible way to do a pregnancy angle that doesn't culminate in a baby?
I really think it was horrible. I hated it. I begged Russo. I was like, my daughter is in elementary school, and I don't want kids hearing about that and then saying, oh, your mom, had this other baby and what, I just didn't want to put her through that. And I thought it was tacky. And that was one fight I lost. I fought and fought and fought that angle. I begged Russo. I'm like, dude, just don't. And he won, and I lost that one.
You were in the WWF at the time when WCW was purchased. What ran through your mind? Do you remember the day?
Yes, I remember thinking, holy crap, this is not good, because, I thought that we thrived because of this grand rivalry. And to purchase the whole entity that was the impetus of the rivalry just didn't seem to help anyone. Fast forward all these years later, and what a wonderful idea in terms of the WWE network, because of this expansive, extensive video library. And I don't get paid to say this, and I don't get royalties from this. But I will tell you this: if any fan if anyone calls themselves a fan of wrestling and they don't have a frickin' $9.99 subscription to the WWE network every month, then I call bullshit on them being a fan. Because, are you kidding me? At 3 o'clock in the morning, if you get a wild hair, you can go, oh my gosh, Terri Runnels was Alexandra York in WCW. Wait, I want to look that up and I want to see that. I mean, you have it at your fingertips 24/7. On top of that, you get every pay-per-view. Are you kidding me? Who wouldn't do that? I think it's awesome. So, fast forward, I think it's great for WWE to have that. At the time, I thought it was a terrible thing because, and it did, we lost. That rivalry was such a source of intensity that kept us, go. It's like saying, the two biggest rivalries in the NFL are now going to become one big team. Huh? What? You lose all that. So
it's great for the short term, but what makes them tune in next week?
It's great for one show. Exactly. For one show, maybe, but then what? Yeah, no. But now, like I said, fast forward, great for wrestling fans, so.
When they went all out with the WCW alliance, did you have the option? Did somebody go to you and say, hey, you worked for WCW, which side do you want to be on? And at one point, I believe you were on both sides. You at least managed some Raven when he was still part of the alliance as well.
Well, I was with Perry, I was with the Radicals and that sort of thing, but that was never a whose side do you want to be on? No.
Any ill will towards Moppy?
No. I love Moppy because I always had better hair than Moppy.
You sure did. And you still do.
Story to tell you about hair, okay? So a few years ago, I decide by golly, I'm going to chop this crap off. I just want to be fresh and new. And so I literally, I mean, you go back and you can see pictures of me with, my hair cut off like 2 or 3 years ago. And I thought forever, like, man, my hair is never going to grow out. So there was a short amount of time that I bought these extensions that I would put in just to give me a little bit of length in my hair, right? And so, and I was, no big deal. I was whatever. So literally just a couple of days ago, this past weekend when I went to do the Strong Style Wrestling show, the MDA show, this very tactless guy that I later found out was an attorney, he first words out of his mouth as we're waiting at the gate, he says, "Wow, great extensions." I was like, "Excuse me?" And I was pissed. Let me tell you, it's funny. I was pissed off because I didn't have any extensions in my hair. And I was like, damn it, this is my hair.
You earned that.
Yeah. But here's the funny thing. When I told him why I believe my hair all of a sudden grew, he then asked me if I was like, I think he said a Seventh-day Adventist or Scientology. I don't even know. It was some religion. And I looked at him like he had 3 heads. And I said, dude, what? He goes, oh, well, that particular religion, they don't believe in going to the doctor. So they all believe in doing what you said you do. So when I told him that I did, that I believe grew my hair, I take a shot a day of Bragg's apple cider vinegar. Like a shot glass, a shot a day. And it's so good for like so many different things, for weight, for your blood, like everything. Like honestly, I don't think there's anything it's not good for.
I was going to ask your anti-aging secret. Because you still have smooth skin, beautiful hair. It's amazing.
Thank you.
But that's coming from somebody who, I mean, I've got nothing, but...
Hey, you're working that beard awfully nicely there. You're doing a good job of it. No, but like, it's one of those things that like, I kind of consider it like medicine. So, it's like, I guess like I've never been a hard liquor, give me a shot of Jack Daniels kind of person. But I assume the face that everyone makes when they take a shot like that is kind of the same face I make when I take a shot of the apple cider vinegar. Like it's just, but yeah, 3 seconds, it's over with. And I really believe it's very good for you. So as a child, when I say a child, 13, 14, 15, whenever I started like, looking at the opposite sex and wanting to look good, I would always go to the beach or lay out with makeup on. And to this day, like all these years of tanning, I've never tanned my face. So it's kind of funny, like I have to match this with whatever the rest of me, whatever color I am. So yeah, if I wash all this smoke and mirrors off, like my face is very white. But I think that's the only reason that maybe I look a few years younger. I don't see it that much. I think I look old, but if you say I look younger, I'll take it and I'll appreciate it. Thank you.
It's good because I mean it.
Vinegar and sunscreen.
Take notes, people. Looking back, did you prefer getting in the ring and wrestling and getting the beatdowns from Chyna? Or did you prefer to analyze the ring from the outside in the valet, the managerial role?
I detested, and I've never made a secret of this, I used to beg Vince, please don't make me wrestle. And he would, you're going to be great. like every time that I would go and I would think, okay, I've got a great argument this time. And I would present my argument to him and say, and this is why that I should not be wrestling Vince. I'm terrible at it. I've not been trained. I would say to him, I remember this so clearly. I would say, Vince, you know how when someone wants to do something, they do like a better job than somebody who doesn't want to do something? I don't want to do it, Vince. And same thing. You're going to be great. You're going to be awesome. Go ahead and, pat me on the back. You're going to do great. So like literally I went out there and I did the best I could, but I literally would get sick to my stomach when I got to TVs and I saw that I was in a match with another female. I hated it. I respect the hell out of all the women that that's what they wanted to do, that they trained to do it, that was their dream. But I loved taking bumps from the guys. I loved the bigger the bump, the better. You know, Dudley slamming through the table, Chyna, you know, Kane, you know, lifting me up on my throat. I didn't care. Like, I got happy when I had a big bump to take. But tell me I had to wrestle, and I was just not happy, upset, sick. As far as the interviewing went, I loved it, because remember when I did the segue from manager to wrestler, my clothing went from a whole lot of long gold gowns and, you know, whatever clothing that the She-Devil wore to like thongs and bra and panties matches. And, you know, I didn't wear a whole lot of clothes for those. Yeah. So when I was doing the interviewing, or when I was hosting, like, I loved hosting Access with Coach. I loved that. And the interviewing I loved because, like, I could wear some quasi-professional and classy, you know, attire, and you know, could be seen as a little bit more than you know, a hair dye job and some plastic surgery, if you get my drift. Mm-hmm. So
I have a question that's not very serious. Did you ever try the food at WWF New York?
Yes.
Was it
I loved their grilled chicken Caesar. I loved they had something, either shrimp or salmon, that I would always get there. Yeah, their food was decent. I liked it.
Great chicken tenders.
Dakota said great chicken tenders. So there you go.
A Dakota Runnels endorsement. I love it.
Shame you can't go there and have it today.
Coming soon, you are going to be releasing a new photo shoot on the TerriRunnels.com. What can you tell us about it? Is there a theme to it?
Yeah, so here's the deal. It's not a new photo shoot. It's a new photo set. So what I did was, I had a photographer come, and we shot for 5 days. And I had these different, I wanted everything to be very stylized, very different. Like, I'd spent my entire career in a bikini, like, basically making love to the camera, like, look at, and I didn't want to do anything like that. I wanted it to be the complete antithesis of all that. So you'll notice that in the majority of all my pictures that are being released on my website every 3 to 4 weeks, you'll notice that I'm not looking at the camera. You'll notice that I have on a whole lot of clothes. I'm not scantily clad. A lot of them are 70s inspired. So it was from one long photo shoot, but I'm releasing the different sets every 3 to 4 weeks. So you just have to keep checking www.theterrirunnels.com to see when the next set is being released.
All right. And where else in social media can people come find you? Twitter, Facebook, Instagram?
Well, if they want to check out my lame Snapchat abilities, they can go to, actually all of my social media is the same, the Terri Runnels. So my official Twitter, Facebook, there's a verified, you know, my fan page, which Martin runs my fan page for me. And, you know, if anyone ever sends something to me, he makes sure I get it, you know, anything like that. I used to answer questions on Facebook on my fan page. But I literally got people like if I ever answered them, they would take that as the green light to keep asking me questions. Mm-hmm. And what they don't realize is when you got thousands of frickin' questions and you're trying to be gracious and get to at least one question from each person, if that person that you've just answered a question of, if they then pose another 2 questions of you, and then they get pissed because you didn't answer their second, third, and fourth and fifth question, and they don't understand, oh my God, like, I'm not the only person that she's, you know, like, it was a huge time consumer for me to try to answer them. And it became either people got pissed off because I didn't just stay on and answer all of their questions over and over and over, or I was inundated with, is this the real Terri Runnels? Well, how do I know this is you? Well, dude, I don't have time to explain to you that this is my, it's just like, it's energy sucking. It's frustrating. That's why I don't follow people on Twitter, because then they have access to DM, and I don't like not answering people. So it's better if they don't have access to me at all. So I stopped answering questions on Facebook on my fan page. I don't follow people on Twitter, and unless I want to. And on what else, Dakota? Instagram and Snapchat. It's like, I just try to keep it where, if you get something from me, even if it's the words thank you, and you never hear back from your other, just like, I tried, I can't get everything.
Well,
so
I appreciate that you took the time to speak with me and answer some of my questions. Even if some are super obvious, I think some people are going to get some answers to things they didn't know. And
let's hope, right?
Let's hope. So be sure, everybody, to go to theterrirunnels.com, and if you talk to her on social media, moderation. She's got a lot of fans.
And listen, like Dakota is kind of the same way. Like she, Dakota, what's your Twitter? Dakota 22.
Dakota Runnels 22 is mine. My thing is, like, I don't have nearly as many people trying to contact me, so I feel like I should talk to more of
Can
them.
you come over and get in the shot, please, and not be afar?
She gets to see super nervous Jimmy the Freak. Hi, Dakota. It's an honor to meet you.
You too. Sorry, I'm like tripping over shoes here. So my thing with social media is I don't have that many people that follow me or try to interact with me, so I feel like it's my civic duty to try to reply to as many as I can.
But don't be a jack-off and jerk off and say other things, because she will cut you.
That's not nice.
Yeah.
Not about that.
Yeah.
Good call. If we can get Billy Gunn's kid a decent Twitter following, we'll get you a nice, respectable follower base.
Hey.
Dakota's going to have plenty of followers, just on her merits alone. So,
Oh, she's being so sweet tonight. She's sweet all the time.
well, it's been nice talking to you.
You too.
Bye.
Well, thank you again so much for sitting down and chatting with me. Is there anything else you want to say or something else you want to plug or promote?
No, I'm glad to clear up that junk from the Jim Ross interview.
Yeah.
I will get some answers from Russo and Shivani. What else?
I'd love to talk to Shivani. I'm terrified of Russo.
Oh, don't be.
Well, he's somebody that I defended a lot in past editorials and past speeches and that, but I'm still the kind of fan that he insists is the negative kind of fan. So I'm kind of tiptoeing around and making sure I don't offend the guy.
He gets his feelings hurt every once in a while. He's all right. He's a big boy. He can handle it.
I liked his work. I even watched WCW in 2000.
Everybody liked his work at some point.
They
Because-
just don't always recognize it was his
The
work.
ratings were, let's face it. I mean, Russo had I think he got, and I've said this to him, I think he got a little full of himself there for a few years. He had to rein it all in and kind of go, okay, I gotta, it's not all about me. But I think he had some genius things. He was the one person that worked with Dustin, with Goldust. That was our person. So he really worked with Dustin a lot, and Dustin trusted him, and Vince really helped Dustin bring out that character. Let's face it, I don't know of anyone who can be a 6'5" tobacco chewing Texan and pull off that kind of a gimmick like Dustin did. And just a little brownie point and shout out to my child's father. He is healthier than he's ever been, looks better than he ever has, is showing some of these young dudes up all these years later.
Mhm.
I'm proud. I'm
And
very
he's
proud.
a big Pokemon Go guy, so fans love him.
Thanks to his daughter. Despite anything Dustin has ever said about me, I am proud of that man. He's a good soul, a good daddy, and a damn good wrestler.
I'd ask him, but he blocked me. At one point, I asked him a question about Black Rain.
Oh no.
He does not field those.
Black
Did you hear Dakota? He's trigger happy with the block button. You know, he does things a little like quickly and then has to go back and go, oh, okay, sorry about that. So yeah, you can get back in.
I'm pretty sure one day I'll be able to give him an apology.
We'll get you back in. We'll get you back in.
Thank you so much. And that was my sit-down chat with Terri and Dakota Runnels. Huge thank you to the both of them, as well as Martin, for setting the whole thing up. And if you enjoyed this, let me know who you want me to try to get a hold of, or if you have questions, I'll be able to pass them on to them.
And that's a wrap. It was an absolute honor to sit and chat with Terri and Dakota, and I do want to thank them again for taking a chance on me. I'm still very sorry that this interview had to be lost for a couple of years, but it's back up now, and hopefully everybody learned some new stuff about them. We'll have to do it again sometime. For now, it's time I get my shoulders off the mat, so thank you for tuning in to Jobbed Out. Catch you next time.